Hey everyone, it is finally done! I have finished a settlement after a break of over a year. The break was mostly due to tendonitis in both hands, and it's still an issue, but it got better enough to do some light gaming, like base building. I've had 2 weeks off and spent a chunk of it finishing up Spectacle Island. I've worked on it over several years actually, but I never had a solid creative vision for it until maybe a year ago. And I dare say it turned out great at long last. You guys be the judge of it though. This video is ridiculously long, almost an hour. The island is big and there's lots to see, so I hope I'll manage to keep your attention. So, let's go and have a look at a Radstag rider colony on Spectacle Island.
News going around? Uh-huh.
Spectacle Island is home to 51 settlers, yes, crazy, a bunch of Brahmin, chickens, rabbits, and about 25 domesticated radstags. I am extremely surprised that my computer didn't catch fire. I did not expect to have a playable game at the end, to be honest. And while the frame rate lags in the 20s at times, it's not really worse than some of my previous builds. And some of the lag is due to the junk boats. I had to reload my save all the time because the game's slow to crawl. This settlement is home to the famous Radstag riders, who not only breed them for meat but also ride them. Later, I'll show you the mod that actually lets you ride a Radstag. It's pretty cool. The inhabitants of this island are reclusive and rarely leave their peaceful home, and they don't accept new people easily. They're pretty distrustful. But they do run a guest house for traders looking to buy meat and leather armor. Traders will obviously have to come by boat, their own boat, and their journey is often a long one, so they usually stay a night or two at the guest house. I handcrafted almost all of the settlers because I wanted them to look properly rugged. I wanted them to have beards and scars and dirty faces. Since I don't use scrap everything, it wasn't possible to scrap the ruined house or at least clear the rubble. So you will have to excuse the immersion breaking sight of repaired guesthouse walls and a new roof, but all the crap still on the floor, making parts of the place unusable. Maybe they're still working on it? Yeah. The guesthouse is super bare bones. It's literally just a place to crash and move on the next day. There's just a bed and a chest in most of the rooms so that traders can store their gear while they barter. Outhouses are outside, of course, the showers too. There's no running water and not much electricity on the island. A few powered vending machines and the fridge is all the luxury the island has to offer visitors. But the quality of the food and fair prices make up for it, and a lot of people come here to buy. One of the ruined corners I turned into a storage room for all the broken stuff on the island. It still took me a crazy amount of time to furnish every room and every shack on the island, even though I made heavy use of pre-made clutter from a bunch of mods like Dead Wasteland. You'll see lots of repeated assets, please excuse that. My focus is always less on super detailed clutter and more on the big picture of creating interesting communities. Other people do much better work with insane clutter skills. Shout out to Mack here. Amazing eye for detail, check out her work. Yeah, there's actually one piss bucket restroom of sorts attached to one of the rooms. That is the more expensive one in case you have diarrhea or something. While the island is famous for the radstags, the settlement has mostly a nautical theme. Another source of income is actually fishing and Maya-like breeding. Visitors can enjoy the best Maya-like dishes in the Commonwealth. Yeah, okay, I didn't do anything with the vanilla boathouse, it's just one of the access points to the island. I'm super happy with how the Milo King turned out. It's the only food stand visitors are allowed to frequent, but the islanders eat there too from time to time, like that hunter. Visitors, however, are not allowed to roam the rest of the island where the radstags live. The islanders have their own bars and traders. Everything you see here on the slope is shops for visitors, though.
Well, aren't you a ray of sunshine?
like the junk boat repair shop. So that's another service they offer. They repair boats of all kinds. So that's another reason they need a guest house. Repairs take time. It took me some time to replicate the junk boats from the mod as static objects, but I'm pleased with the results.
You're one of the good ones.
Yes. Yes, I am. Was wondering if there was anything you needed help with.
Wish I could say I had half the guts you do.
If you say so.
The player comments mod never fails to make me laugh. Should turn it off for my videos though, too much background noise. But sure is funny. Okay, the greenhouse is both for selling and for their own consumption. They have more crops out in the open though, up where the Brahmin farmers are.
You look tired.
Not really, no. Hey.
Huh?
The whole world's crazy.
The fishermen of Spectacle Island are dolphin hunters, like the twin brother of Chuck Norris here.
Need to get back to Diamond City one of these days. Biggest town I ever saw.
I could see that.
I figured that all the washed up dolphin carcasses mean there are lots of live ones in the ocean. Like all mutated creatures, they are very dangerous. Only the most fearless men become dolphin hunters. That meat ain't cheap, but very popular among the more wealthy people of the Commonwealth.
You hear about that farm run by ghouls? Isn't that something?
The butcher's a grumpy fella who is not a Radstag rider. The riders don't like the slaughtering, they
I'm
grow
listening.
attached to the animals.
Not much.
So they have this guy do all the dirty work.
It's fine.
I love how the fishing village turned out, guys. It's my favorite part of the build. Anyway, the radstags get herded into this pen where I set up a pretty gruesome slaughter contraption. It does work, but I couldn't get an animal to stand close enough for the recording, so you just have to believe me. I was getting so impatient it didn't work out and I just stopped trying. Anyway, as you can see, it's powered spring traps and stationary guns activated by a switch. At first I thought the unpowered spring traps were perfect, but they don't actually do enough damage to kill anything. I know, why would anybody break a radstag's legs first before shooting them? I know, I just like building the contraption. Let me quickly show you the backside of the dolphin vendor where the meat gets chopped. By the way, these salt crates are from a mod, I forgot which one, and they actually add to the food count, which is kinda nice.
Hey,
Hey.
The fishing village was the second area I built. 2 years ago or so I started building the tree houses. But I had no idea where I was going with this. I wanted to build on the entire island, something nobody ever does. It's way too big a place, right? And so I was overwhelmed too. And I abandoned the idea. Then a year later I gave it another shot and I came up with the idea of creating little tribes of sorts who live in different parts of the island and do different things. And I also came up with the Redstag colony idea. They need space, so there was no need to cram the island full of stuff. Gradually I figured out how to populate the island in an organic sort of way, I hope.
What?
I put turrets on buoys and also Tesla traps. Let's just say they're bolted under buoys and will never ever fall off. You might also notice that I put barnacles all over the parts that are underwater for super high immersion. The fearsome fishermen, as they call themselves, go dolphin hunting about once a month. The rest of the time they haul in regular fish and tend to their fish farms. So it's
Absolutely.
mostly a relaxed kind of life. On their adventures they also find all kinds of junk they bring back and pass along. The fearsome fishermen never visit the mainland. They spend all their time at sea or on the island. They also do a bit of scouting for raiders who might be plotting to attack. Raider attacks happen rarely because the island is so well defended, and it's virtually impossible to attack unnoticed. But once in a while they get bold and want to conquer the island and steal everything. It would be a tale for legends to them. Of course it's dangerous out in the open sea for the fishermen. Several years ago raiders sank one of their junk boats and killed a fisherman. Death by raiders almost never happens though. They attack maybe once or twice a year. So life on the island is relatively safe. I mean, there are 51 well-armed settlers on the island, and most raider groups are
You know
small
what?
and not well
Never mind.
organized.
It's not important. Was wondering if there was anything you needed help with.
Hey, General.
Hey,
This woman belongs to the fearsome fishermen. She hates raiders. They killed her entire family. So spotting them puts her in a good mood actually, because it means it's time to kill some raider scum. Every group on this island has their own social corner where they hang out. Now, of course, settlers will just teleport everywhere, right? But I roleplay them kind of sticking to their corner of the island, keeping to themselves. They are a tight-knit community, but they also have their tribal identities. This settler is one of my favorites. I love her look.
Another day of hard work.
I love work. I can sit and watch it all day.
She's sitting on a fishing chair, which is a workstation from a mod called Basic Fishing. It adds 6 food to the settlement. The player character can also use it, and fish get added to the inventory. Pretty neat. Okay, she's supposed to be sitting on a chair, of course. It's nigh impossible to get 51 settlers to all be at their spot at the same time.
How are things going?
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
I have 9 guard posts on the island, but only 7 guards, so they always move around, which I like for some of my builds. The guards carry mostly broadsiders, so you really don't want to mess with them.
Hey.
Same old, same old.
It's not that bad.
Oh.
Hmm?
I put up spikes as mild lurk traps, and I placed a few static creatures so it looks like they got pierced and died. Since I play with controller, I have never made use of the place everything feature that lets you tilt objects. So the placement of the bodies is not perfect. Sorry.
You look tired.
No, not really.
So next to the Radstag riders and the fearsome fishermen are a group of people who call themselves the beach bums. Yes, I was going for alliterations. They do not contribute all that much to the economy, aside from firepower. However, they do go through the junk that the fishermen bring them. All the stuff that got caught in the nets, or got scavenged off smaller islands. And they try to repair stuff or invent new useful items the other settlers can use. They are quiet people and don't ask for much. Having them on the island is kind of charity. They are not really needed, but they are strength in numbers and there is plenty of food to go around, so they are not really a burden. Yeah, that washroom is a bit silly. There's no plumbing on the island, so maybe it gets drained into the ocean? Let's not think about it too hard.
Anything going on around here that I should know about?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome.
Oh man, radstags are everywhere. Okay, buddy, move along now. This settler is really reveling in a bum life. Sleeps rough on the ground. The ground is actually bad from that wasteland. I gave up on assigning settlers to beds though, they never seem to stick to it. This has been driving me crazy since the very beginning. I love this custom general store from that wasteland. It fits the aesthetics of this build
I've
perfectly.
seen better.
Yeah?
Oh, nothing.
Let's switch to morning again. There.
Farm's not much, but it's something.
You always this enthusiastic?
Yeah, the island doctor's always busy patching up, chewed off fingers, the occasional severed arm from a mile-leg encounter, and there are tons of accidents with the radstags, and sometimes even the Brahmin who have stubborn personalities like all cows. This is actually not the settler assigned to cooking. The fish-getting workstation seems shared with cooking stations somehow.
Can't talk now.
So,
Maybe
yeah,
another
sorry.
time.
By the way, if you assign a settler to cooking, they'll wander around most of the time. To avoid that, I had to place an animation rug for the same job, basically. It took some fiddling to get the angle right, but now at least the settlers do nothing but cooking all day. Okay, a ghost lives here apparently. Moving on. The drunk dolphins are a couple who decided to be their own little tribe. The husband is the owner of the pub on the big boat I'll show you soon. His wife helps out and keeps the boat clean. And yes, they are drunk a lot. Too much booze around. As you might notice, there are no ghouls on this island and no children. The islanders don't like ghouls. They scare them, funny enough. And they have no time and patience for children.
Welcome
They are
back.
very rugged
Thank you.
men and women who pride themselves on being tough as nails. And raising children requires a softer touch at times that they don't possess, and constant supervision. Children are frankly a liability. There was a child on the island 15 years ago that got killed by a wild mirelurk playing on the beach. The mother never really recovered, and they decided that children were not good for their community.
Was wondering if there was
Another day of
anything
hard
you
work.
needed help with.
Hey,
So, whenever somebody gets pregnant, they either have to drink a special herbal mix that will stop the pregnancy, or leave the island and raise the child someplace else, someplace with proper protective walls. Initially, there were only men on the island, but that got lonely and a bit stale, so they allowed women to join under the condition not to bring any children. The SS Shipwreck is Spectacle Island's party boat. It's where most of the fishermen and occasionally members of the other groups gather to drink and eat and dance and sing rude songs about naked mutant mermaids.
You're welcome.
The bartender is one half of the Drunken dolphins that I
how's
mentioned
business?
before.
yeah.
Sorry. What?
Initially, more settlers were going to have tattoos. There's one that's an anchor, which would fit nicely. But then I realized that pretty much all the fishermen wear hats, and you can actually see the anchor forehead tattoo. Okay, the skinny gray-haired guy is my herbalist, and I have no idea why he's out here molesting the woman roasting the radstag. And yes, the reason the handle isn't moving, again, is that I placed the animation rug over the cooking station to keep her there all day.
Sounds like you're in a good mood.
Yeah.
This guy looks
No,
really creepy peeping.
mind.
I know, but
How are you doing?
Busy here.
That's hard to believe.
just imagine there's people in there dancing and he's drunk talking to them through the window, okay? You wouldn't believe how good it feels to have completed a settlement build after all this time. I'm so excited to show it to you guys, hoping it was worth the wait. Anybody who subscribed for my Fallout 4 bits, thank you for your patience. I know there hasn't been much content the past 2 years. I'm really sorry about that. These settlement videos are so time consuming because I'm a perfectionist about stupid little details. And ever since I discovered the mod that lets you handcraft unique settlers, that's another time sink, once the build itself is complete. And I have so many workshop items by now, I forget about half the stuff I have and where to even find it. I spend about 30% of the time going through the menus. That's a makeshift shower next to a water tank. The tub is mostly drinking water for the radstags, but I guess you could get naked and enjoy a really cool soak in that tub.
Get back to Diamond City one of these days. Biggest town I ever saw.
This woman is
see
supposed
that.
to use a hammer rebuilding this old crumbled vanilla shack. Guess she was on a break. It's fine, girl. I really enjoy seeing the guards carry around these massive guns. Looks so cool.
Sounds rough. I'm listening.
Huh?
The whole world's crazy.
This fishing shed is really just a shed for old and broken equipment. At first I wanted to turn it into another home, but then I decided an actual tool shed of sorts was more immersive. That stuff needs to be stored somewhere after all. The boatbugs are a group of merry bachelors of various ages who aren't really fishermen at all. They just like living on a boat, enjoying each other's company. They do easy repairs on the boats and shacks, and generally help out a little bit with everything. They also serve as contacts to the traders visiting the island. They keep an eye on all the visitors and make sure they don't stray too far from the guest house. You'd think on a big island they'd all live in bigger shacks with more privacy, but no, they still prefer to live close together. It's always safer that way, right? They live like family. Instead of a house, they just live on a boat. The first settlers of this community came to Spectacle Island about 30 years ago, and some of them are still alive. They cleared out the bodies of the previous inhabitants, who looked like they got killed by raiders, and started setting up defenses so that they wouldn't meet the same fate. At first it was only fishermen, then they got Brahmin over and started farming. The boatbirds are a group of older women. One of them works in a greenhouse, one is the fish cutter, one fishes all day sitting on a chair, and one enjoys cooking for everyone. As you can see, the ladies have a nicer boat than the guys. They put up some pictures, they have a radio and listen to music a lot. Yeah, okay, that's maybe not the prettiest view one can have, but okay. Oops, I forgot to put a weapon on the rack. Let me quickly correct that. Nobody saw it. I didn't do anything with the capsized vanilla boat. At first I wanted to place raider bodies in there all piled up, but I didn't have any ragdoll ones that wouldn't despawn. But you guys, you go ahead and roleplay this being the body dump and feasting ground for wild Mirelurk. So, back to the history of the island. One day, a young man with a radstag in tow came over in a boat.
So much care for good neighbor. That place is nothing but trouble.
What makes you think that?
It was initially brought as a food source, the only survivor of a bloody radstag encounter. Instead of shooting the fawn, the man tied it up and took it with him. On the island, the radstag lost its natural aggression and grew up docile and became the beloved island pet. An idea formed in their heads. Could this be repeated? Over the next few years, a bunch of the settlers would venture out to find other very young fawns to domesticate. It was a very dangerous endeavor, however, and they lost several men to radstag attacks before they managed to secure a suitable candidate. They started breeding radstags on the island. Not all of them grew up docile and many were slaughtered young. Only the least aggressive ones they let live. Eventually they managed to breed a Radstag colony that was no longer a threat to the settlers, and I let them all loose on the island. For the past 20 years, the settlers of Spectacle Island have lived in harmony with their radstags. They even turned them into pack mules and mounts and sometimes took them off the island by boat for scavenging runs. These days, however, radstag riding is more of an annual festival rather than a means of transportation. The islanders spend most of their time on the island and are happy to never interact with the rest of the Commonwealth. Here we have the Mirelurk Butcher and the Mirelurk Farm. Both the Docile Mirelurks and the Radstags are from the mod Better Stores, which is only available on Bethesda.net, however. They count as food, which is awesome, and they can be kept in place with a bait object that works like the Brahmin trough. For the Mirelurks, it's a dolphin carcass. The animals will gather around it. With this mod, you can build an actual working zoo! Beyond awesome, it's everything I've ever wanted. These Mirelurk shells get dumped off a ramp in the butcher shack.
How's it going?
Crop's been growing pretty good lately.
Uh-huh.
Yes?
Never mind.
Before I had Better Stores, I was in despair over my Radstag colony idea, because the ones I captured with a cage and then pacified would always get attacked and killed by the settlers at some point. I put down several better wave emitters on the island, but it was no use. It might still be the size of the island that's the problem. I do have pacified animals in other settlements, and they're still alive, like the pet mole rat at Sunshine Tidings or the feral dog at 10 Pines Bluff. I was worried my settlement idea was impossible. Then I found Better Stores and everything fell into place. This guy is the only settler with a TV, and he does not like sharing it. Now we're moving on to the tree houses of the Redstag riders. They're all my own creations, except for 2 prefabs. This one with the fungi growing on the walls is perhaps my favorite one. It looks so cute, doesn't it? As mentioned before, tree houses were the initial idea. I wanted to build a treehouse village. Maybe have bridges connect the different shacks. I had this grand vision. So I got started, put down a few shacks, built them up in the air, then I added trees from the Dead Wasteland mod as supports. I even put down horizontal support beams, so it looks like the shacks got nailed to the trees. But after even a few tree houses, the area was already so full of trees that I realized it would look terrible to have the entire island be this dense dead forest. The tree density I settled on is already a bit on the ugly side in my opinion. You can tell trees get added, but I'm okay with the look of it all as it is now. How about you? What do you think? Branches and twigs sticking into the shacks couldn't be helped. In real life, people would just cut them, but the inhabitants of the Commonwealth are generally not the brightest, considering they prefer to sleep in shacks with leaky roofs rather than live in one of the real nice abandoned brick houses in Boston. But Bethesda was never into realism, and I digress. The idea of building bridges between the shacks went out the window too. There just wasn't any space for it. Tree placement was tricky to begin with, and none of the placeable trees was even big and tall enough for real tree houses. So that's why I used a huge prefab as the community center. Now that Spectacle Island is finally done, it's time to think about what I'm going to build next. I know I promised a nuclear world radar racetrack ages ago, and it still haunts my every waking hour. I'm not even kidding. I did start working on it back in the day, but I got overwhelmed by my own ambition to create something absolutely amazing. So I lost my mojo and worked on something less intimidating. I may or may not give this another shot and pray I find a proper vision as I did when I returned to Spectacle Island.
You know what I call a good day? One that ends without an empty stomach.
Absolutely.
Another idea I've had for years was a Rust Devil camp at Warwick. Then I'm also toying with the idea of yet another glowing sea build, a ghoul settlement, someplace they're alone and living a peaceful life in relative luxury. Something really pretty, like a sanctuary town but for ghouls. Another competing opposite idea is a settlement of humans who retreated to the glowing sea to be safe from raiders, walking around with gas masks all day, fully geared up. I still want to do a vault build at some point with pre-war furniture, and I would also like to make a Fallout 4 version of Wall 22 all overgrown. As you can see, a lack of ideas is not the problem here, it's time. There's only ever so much time we have, and settlement building is competing with going outside, enjoying nature or other games. I will however continue to build settlements and upload videos. It will be only 1 or 2 a year realistically. Unless somebody gives me a lot of money and I don't have to work for a living anymore. One can dream. Some of the settlers on Spectacle Island are mildly overweight.
Back hurts. My feet hurt. Everything hurts.
Sounds like you should get some help.
I figure there's so much food on the island and relatively little to do that it makes sense. That's one of the 2 prefabs I used. No major twig disaster here. All I had to do was furnish it. Nice view of the Mylok farm. Best seat for watching them maybe break out one day, killing everyone on the ground. Nope, I'm staying up here waiting for the screams to die down, sniping the surviving monsters. Now let's make our way to the huge community treehouse, the other prefab. This is where the Radstag riders hang out when they're not tending to the animals, which is pretty often because, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of work involved in keeping Radstags fat and happy. Aside from plenty of tables to chill, there's also a makeshift toilet. Nobody wants to walk for 10 minutes to one of the outhouses when they really need to relieve themselves, right? The Moonshine Maker wears an outfit that leaves creepy transparent
Don't worry.
spots at the
But
neck.
be careful.
It's not the only one. Some outfits I can't
anything
scrap,
lately?
they crash the
Been a
game.
long time.
Yeah, fun times with modding sometimes.
Lost track of how many blisters I got.
It's never easy, is it?
Yep.
Yes.
Not everyone has a private cooking station, so many cook their meals up here, and there's always good company to be had. And if not, there's a caged bird who swears like a sailor. find it funny that I wouldn't even be able to monetize my settlement videos because of these few seconds of songs from the radios. Ridiculous. I mean, I get that my music videos are all copyright infringements, but a few seconds of really old songs on a Diamond City radio? Okay. Let's go see if my skinny old herbalist Loopy is home now, actually working his garden for once. Nope, of course he's not. Never mind, most of the time when he is working, he's over at the Brahmin brothers tending to their crops, no matter how often I assign him to his own crops. He'll always only tend to one of his own. I hate how little details like that drive me crazy and ruin my immersion. The Brahmin brothers are two farmers of Chinese descent who took over the modest farm after the original owner from way back 30 years ago died. He got kicked in the head by one of his Brahmin. Cows are dangerous. The Brahmin brothers have been on Spectacle Island for about 7 years now. They came here as teenagers, swimming. Raiders chased them to the shore close to Warwick, and the boys decided they'd rather drown. They made it to the island, however, and after an earnest discussion and vote concerning their future, they were allowed to stay and help rebuild the Brahmin and chicken farm. They happily accepted. Funny side story, right before I was almost done with my build, I had a random attack spawn right into the farm. Like right into the shacks. It was 3 Jaguar bears who killed all the chickens and half of the Brahmin. And at that point, my settlers didn't have any weapons equipped yet, so I watched them try to fist the bears to death, which didn't work, of course, so I had to step in. Hilarious, though. How the hell do bears get on a friggin' island in the first place? Bethesda, please. Couldn't you tailor enemy attacks to specific settlements so it makes sense? This was the first ever attack in like 50 hours, and now I had dead bodies lying around. I kept forwarding time, but the bodies wouldn't disappear. Then I realized I had to be away from the settlement when forwarding time. That worked at last. But man, that cost me about 2 hours. I was so pissed off. Look, there are actually a bunch of rabbits sitting in the grass. Cute, right? I noticed that there are hardly any Asians among the random settlers, so I created my own, of the vanilla Asian preset face. Pretty much all my custom settlers are slight variations of the presets, with different hair, scars and dirt, which somehow in the end gives them a whole new look. Still, took about 10 hours to create 40 custom settlers. My guards all wear one of two outfits. One is old Longfellow's coat, and one is the longshoreman outfit with different colors added by mods. And this is where most of the water for the settlement comes from. The container captains are a very jolly group of people who will tell you that there's no better living to be found in all the Commonwealth. They are the mechanics of the island, repairing ships but rarely driving them. And they're the ones manning the guard posts. You won't find a grumpy soul among them. They just love life, post-apocalypse or not. They are their own little village that the other tribes find a bit annoying, to be honest. All this cheerfulness is not something the quiet fishermen share, whose lives as dolphin hunters and raider scouts are more dangerous. That's okay though, the container captains don't mind. They've got their own store and pub, and they'll happily keep everyone on the island safe, even when nobody else laughs at the jokes the guards shout at each other across half the island. Looks like somebody forgot to place a chair there. They all wear captain's hats or Coast Guard hats. That's their thing when they're not on the job. Rumor has it they sleep with their hats on. I know, they kinda look like they belong to the village people, but hey, I'm not judging. There's a shower at the back. If only I could get past a half-naked dude singing YMCA. That's a working shower, by the way. The sole survivor can use it too. Dude, let me out. Oh, come on, move it. Jesus. I wanted to have somebody use this fishing chair, but for some reason no settler can get to it. They just stand where they are and not move at all anymore. It's super creepy. Might be the chair is too close to the settlement border. I have no idea. The container captains are the ones who take care of business off the island, like securing certain supply arrangements for stuff they cannot produce themselves, like oil for their generators and junk boats. They go into every major settlement advertising Radstag and dolphin meat and their boat repair shop. They're a bit like occasional door-to-door salesmen, and who would be better suited for it than a bunch of super enthusiastic container captains? In the past, the Radstag riders would tour the Commonwealth, but the radstags get nervous around regular people, and once an animal freaked out completely when a guard dog barked at it and almost killed what was supposed to be a potential customer. Nowadays, radstag riders go on scavenging runs, sometimes, but they don't go into settlements anymore. They grow their own veggies, but rely heavily on meat and fish provided by the other groups. In exchange, the captains distribute clean water. These blue barrels standing around are water barrels, by the way. I believe they add to the water count.
Why don't you take a night off?
I guess it can't hurt.
I'm kind of running out of things to talk about at this point while I go through all the rooms, and I really want to finish and upload this video today, Sunday, so please excuse longer silences towards the end of this video.
Anything going on around here that I should know about?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure that's such a good idea.
And this is no place for overweight people. The space between the containers is really narrow. I had a lot of fun arranging the containers. Filling them with clutter was a bit of a chore though, I admit. Okay, I put a window at the bottom of the wall here by accident, and then a settler must have opened it. Let's just roleplay they brush all the food crumbs and dirt through it, and then somebody downstairs either collects it or sweeps it off the side of the barge. Yeah? Almost forgot to show the settler looking for her clothes.
Same old, same old.
It's not that bad.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome.
Crop's coming in pretty good.
Uh-huh. Hey, hi.
I didn't do anything with the vanilla containers because the barge sits at an angle and I would have had to figure out how to tilt objects with mouse and keyboard, and I'm frankly too lazy for that. So the only thing I did was add a couple of outhouses. Don't go swimming here. Oh, I forgot to show you my other settler fishing to the side of the container barge. I am skipping showing you the settlement by night. This video is way too long anyway for the short attention span of the YouTube video watching generation. Just kidding, maybe.
You should go. Whole place is run by robots.
That's incredible.
Before finishing this video, I want to show you how the Radstag Rider mod works. The mod name is Drivables of the Commonwealth Radstags. You place down the stables and then you can craft armor and backpacks for your Redstag. Then you need to go into workshop mode again and place a Radstag. It will start running around you like it's on speed. Then you can equip it like a saddler or a dog meat, and then you just hop on. I truly love this mod. This companion is so damn adorable. And it even has a kind of acid attack. I don't know if it's supposed to be pee, but anyway, this little guy will follow you anywhere, even inside buildings, which kind of sucks to be honest. Only way to get rid of it is to store it in your workbench. You can also switch to first person. However, you cannot steer in first person. It's kind of useless that way, and the head bopping will make you vomit anyway. Yeah, this ain't fun. You can change the camera angle in the ini file though.
That's hard to believe.
This cute guy will also teleport with you. It can die, but otherwise it's at your side at all times like a regular companion. When this mod came out in 2018, I believe, I was hoping they would add a dismiss to settlement feature. Having them walk around your settlement would be amazing, especially if you could have more than one. But even as it is now, the mod is awesome, made by the same people who made the junk boat mod. I highly recommend you check them out. And now we are actually at the end of the video. As usual, here's what the settlement looks like from above. This flyby will take a few minutes this time. And the island is so big that some of the details get lost or don't load in properly. But you will get a general idea of the layout. Thank you again for sticking with my channel over the years, even as content output for Fallout 4 slowed down considerably. It always makes me super happy to read all your kind comments. I've worked 2 to 4 hours a day for almost a week on this record length video. Thank you for watching it until the very end. All this work was for you guys. My next video will be my base in Subnautica below zero. I know that nobody cared for my Subnautica bases before, but I don't care. I love Subnautica, I love building bases, even though that feature is very limited. And after that I will probably finish up one of my remaining No Man's Sky farms. Hopefully my fingers will continue to heal and improve so that I can resume my favorite hobby and share my work with you guys. You can always leave suggestions in the comments for future settlement ideas. What location are you most interested in? Other than Fallout 4, what other kinds of videos would you like to see? More modding music videos? Other base building games? I have a few survival games on my wish list like Stranded Deep and Valheim, where I'd love to build bases. I have yet to play and mod Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I owned it on Xbox, but didn't like the open world gameplay back then, believe it or not. I gave up on it after 4 hours. A while ago I started modding Skyrim Special Edition, but ran into a bunch of conflicts and missing textures right off the bat, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. So I got frustrated and remembered that modding Skyrim was not a very enjoyable experience. And I haven't found a good EMB yet either. I don't really know if I want to invest all that time again for the special edition, only to realize Oldrim still looks better. Because it kinda does? Unpopular opinion maybe. At some point we'll probably see the release of Starfield. Next year maybe. Fingers crossed it will have extensive base building. If so, it might kick off a whole new series of Starfield bases. My body is ready. In the meantime, I'll try to keep us all entertained with different kinds of content. Take care and see you next time.